Most people go through life subtly steered by forces they barely recognize. They absorb traditions without question, cling to popular slogans as if they were universal truths, and accept mainstream headlines at face value. Never pause and challenge the source or intent behind them. This blind adherence is not necessarily born from ignorance. Rather, it offers a sense of security. It allows people to avoid the mental discomfort of uncertainty, the burden of critical thinking, and the risk of social isolation. In short, blind belief is easy, and for many, comfort trumps clarity. But this is precisely where the Sigma male breaks the mold. He is not built for ease or conformity. His internal compass doesn't point toward collective validation. It points toward truth, even if it lies in the shadows or leads him far from the herd. The Sigma male is not comforted by popular consensus. Instead, he is driven by an insatiable need to uncover the underlying structure of ideas. While others may find peace and agreement, he finds purpose in questioning. For him, every widely accepted belief is not a foundation, but a puzzle. Every assumption is a locked door begging to be tested. And if it swings open too easily, he enters with caution, eyes scanning for inconsistencies, hidden motives, or subtle manipulations. Imagine the Sigma male standing slightly apart from the crowd. While the majority enthusiastically celebrates whatever trend or belief is currently in vogue, he remains detached, observant, skeptical, and relentlessly curious. This outsider perspective doesn't come from arrogance, but from a deeper philosophical hunger to understand life on his own terms. He doesn't reject society's ideas outright. Instead, he holds them at arm's length, studying them with a calm, analytical gaze. Only after rigorous internal vetting does he decide whether a belief earns a place in his worldview. In this in-depth exploration, we're going to peel back the layers of 8 mainstream beliefs. Ideas most people accept as gospel without hesitation. But through the eyes of a Sigma male, each of these beliefs reveals cracks, contradictions, and overlooked truths. This isn't just about rebellion. It's about the conscious choice to prioritize self-directed thought over mass consensus. In doing so, we'll uncover why skepticism, calm, intelligent, and unrelenting, is not a sign of distrust, but a mark of true independence. 1. Blind allegiance to political parties. The herd mentality of partisan loyalty. In mainstream society, political allegiance is often treated like a fixed identity rather than a thoughtful choice. Many voters adopt the stance of their chosen party with unflinching loyalty, as if the party symbol itself were a seal of truth. Talking points are repeated like gospel, even when the content behind them is barely understood. Policies are supported not because they've been scrutinized, but because they come from the right side. This tribal mindset is deeply emotional, rooted more in group identity than in logic or facts. It fosters an us versus them mentality, where disagreement is seen not as healthy debate, but as betrayal. The end result is a population easily swayed by propaganda, sound bites, and performative outrage. The Sigma's approach, politics as a series of contracts. The Sigma male, however, sees politics through an entirely different lens. To him, political loyalty is not a badge of honor. It's a potential trap. He approaches each issue, each candidate, and each policy as an independent contract that must be evaluated on its own merits. There are no automatic approvals in his worldview. He investigates claims, digs into voting records, and reads between the lines of political speeches. For every impassioned slogan, he asks a critical question: who benefits from my outrage? This inquiry strips the emotional charge from political discourse, allowing him to remain clear-headed when others are swept away by hysteria. He's unafraid to praise ideological opponents when their arguments are grounded in truth, and he doesn't hesitate to challenge his own side when it veers into hypocrisy or manipulation. His loyalty is to integrity, not identity. Over time, this disciplined neutrality reveals the cracks in mainstream narratives and makes him virtually immune to political manipulation. He becomes a rare kind of voter, one who cannot be bought with fear, flattery, or frenzy. 2. Unquestioned religious dogma, the comfort of inherited faith. For most people, religion is not a choice, it's an inheritance. From an early age, individuals are steeped in rituals, moral codes, and sacred stories handed down from previous generations. Bedtime prayers, holiday traditions, and reverent tales of divine creation become the scaffolding of their spiritual identity, long before they develop the tools of critical thought. As adults, many continue to follow these beliefs not out of personal conviction, but because it feels safer to belong than to question. Doubt is often seen as dangerous, even sinful, something to be suppressed rather than explored. As a result, religion for many becomes a passive acceptance of cultural norms rather than an active search for truth. The Sigma is spiritual inquiry. The Sigma male takes a radically different approach to matters of faith. He is not content to simply inherit belief. He demands to understand it. His mind seeks clarity, and that includes in the realm of spirituality. Rather than dismiss religion outright, he dives into its depths with an investigative spirit. He studies comparative theology to see how different cultures interpret the divine. He delves into archaeology to trace the historical origins of sacred texts. And he explores the psychology of belief to understand why humans yearn for meaning and higher purpose. For the Sigma male, faith is not about memorizing doctrine. It's about engaging in a dialogue with the cosmos. His spiritual journey is one of discovery, not obedience. He separates enduring wisdom from cultural dogma, and in doing so, he often crafts a belief system that is deeply personal, intellectually rigorous, and spiritually alive. To him, true devotion is not blind. It's conscious, ever-evolving, and free from a need for approval or validation. 3. The myth that risk is always reckless. Society's fear of uncertainty. In the mainstream mindset, risk is often synonymous with danger and irresponsibility. From early childhood, people are conditioned to choose a safe path, get a stable job, avoid controversy, follow well-trodden routines. Conventional wisdom whispers constantly, play it safe, don't rock the boat. This fear of the unknown becomes a cultural reflex, causing people to sidestep opportunity in favor of comfort. Yet, ironically, history tells a different story. Every major leap forward in art, science, and human rights was born from someone's willingness to risk failure. Progress has never come from playing it safe. It has come from those brave enough to leap into uncertainty. The Sigma's calculated approach to risk. Unlike the masses, the Sigma male views risk not as recklessness, but as a necessary dimension of growth. He doesn't dive in blindly, but neither does he retreat in fear. His relationship with risk is strategic, like that of a seasoned mountaineer evaluating a climb. He carefully studies the terrain, analyzing potential outcomes. He checks his gear, his skills, resources, and timing. He considers the weather, both literal and metaphorical, before making a move. And only once every variable has been studied does he take the leap. What sets him apart is his recognition that stagnation can be more dangerous than risk. A life devoid of challenge leads to the slow erosion of ambition, capability, and self-worth. The Sigma male sees comfort zones as traps in disguise. While society clings to the illusion of safety, he understands that calculated risks often open doors that comfort never will. To him, the real danger isn't failing. It's never having tried. For the fallacy that natural always means better. Marketing's exploitation of natural. In today's consumer culture, the word natural has become a magic spell. It's plastered across food, packaging, cosmetic labels, and wellness ads as a badge of safety and purity. Marketers exploit the term to trigger subconscious associations with health, wholesomeness, and simplicity. But this linguistic sleight of hand ignores a critical truth. Nature itself is not inherently safe. After all, venom, pathogens, wildfires, and toxic plants are all natural. Yet most people fall for the illusion, assuming that if something is natural, it must be good. The Sigma is scientific skepticism. The Sigma male is immune to such emotional manipulation. He doesn't get seduced by buzzwords. He wants evidence. When he sees the word natural, he asks, what does this actually mean? He reads the fine print, not the front label. Is the dosage of this ingredient clinically proven to be safe? Has it been tested in peer-reviewed studies? Is natural flavor just a disguise for a synthetic compound? He digs until the marketing haze clears and the actual data emerges. To the Sigma, the origin of a substance, whether from a plant or a lab, is irrelevant. The outcome is harmful or unverified. His logic is guided by scientific skepticism, not nostalgic idealism. This mindset shields him from falling prey to greenwashing, wellness fads, and overpriced pseudoscience. For him, nature is not a moral compass. Evidence is. 5. The blind acceptance of parental wisdom, the inherited operating system. From the moment we're born, our parents begin shaping how we view the world. They provide our earliest understanding of how money works, what relationships should look like, and how success is defined. These early lessons become our psychological operating system, deeply embedded before we're old enough to question them. For many people, this programming is never updated. They grow into adulthood still running the same inherited scripts, often unaware that their beliefs were shaped by someone else's fears, limitations, or cultural conditioning. They unknowingly replicate patterns that may no longer serve them. Financial habits rooted in scarcity, relationship views based on outdated gender roles, or definitions of success that ignore personal fulfillment. The Sigma's code audit. For the Sigma male, this blind acceptance doesn't last long. During adolescence or early adulthood, he begins to detect subtle contradictions. He notices that his father's financial advice, though well-meaning, doesn't align with economic reality. His mother's warnings about social behavior often clash with what he observes in the world. But rather than react with rebellion or resentment, the Sigma takes a more surgical approach. He performs what can best be described as a code audit of his upbringing. He dissects each belief, testing it against logic and experience. If a value proves useful, like his parents' work ethic or emphasis on empathy, he retains it. But if he identifies toxic patterns, such as prejudice, insecurity, or fear-based thinking, he discards them without hesitation. In doing so, he creates a refined, self-directed philosophy, tailored not by tradition, but by conscious choice. This internal clarity allows him to move through life with a confidence that isn't inherited, it's earned. 6. The unquestioned authority of teachers, the classroom illusion. From the earliest days of school, children are taught to trust their teachers implicitly. The classroom is structured like a hierarchy. The teacher knows, the student listens. This setup primes students to equate authority with truth, creating the illusion that educators are the ultimate arbiters of knowledge. Yet, teachers, like all humans, are shaped by their own worldviews, cultural assumptions, and institutional constraints. Their lessons, while often well-intentioned, may reflect incomplete histories, biased perspectives, or outdated science. Over time, this uncritical acceptance can leave students with a skewed understanding of the world, mistaking memorized information for real insight. The Sigma's independent verification. The Sigma male is not content to be a passive recipient of knowledge. While he respects the structure and purpose of education, he does not worship it. He understands that even well-respected teachers can pass on biased interpretations or omit uncomfortable truths. As a result, he develops a habit of verifying what he's taught. He separates facts from the way they are framed. He notices when certain historical events are glossed over, or when moral lessons are taught without context. He seeks out primary sources, original texts, raw data, unfiltered records, so that he can form his own conclusions. This independent mindset allows the Sigma to transform education from a system of obedience into a platform for discovery. He doesn't reject learning, he deepens it. By refusing to surrender his critical thinking at the classroom door, he becomes a student not of dogma, but of truth. 7. The false equation. Degree equals intelligence, the pedigree fallacy. In mainstream culture, academic credentials are often mistaken for proof of intelligence. A framed diploma on the wall is treated like a certificate of brilliance, an automatic signal that someone is smart, capable, and worthy of respect. Society tends to place disproportionate value on institutional pedigree, as if attending a prestigious university guarantees insight, wisdom, or original thought. But in truth, degrees measure something much narrower: the ability to navigate structured learning, follow instructions, and pass exams. They say little about adaptability, creativity, or real-world problem-solving. Many truly intelligent people operate outside traditional systems, their brilliance invisible to those who only recognize status symbols. The Sigma's merit-based evaluation. The Sigma male sees through this illusion with clinical precision. To him, intelligence is not something that hangs on a wall. It's something you demonstrate in action. He assesses intellect through observation, not credentials. Can this person recognize patterns others miss? Can they think clearly under pressure? Are they willing to revise their beliefs when new evidence arises, even at the cost of their ego? These are the markers that matter to the Sigma. He doesn't dismiss those with degrees, but he doesn't idolize them either. A self-taught coder who builds elegant software, a mechanic who reverse engineers machines, or a streetwise entrepreneur who outmaneuvers a market all earn the Sigma's respect. He values results over resume, insight over institution. In a world obsessed with paper qualifications, the Sigma male quietly redefines what intelligence really looks like. 8. The arbitrary retirement deadline, age 65. The cultural script of retirement. For generations, society has scripted a specific arc for human productivity. Work hard until 65, then retire into a life of relaxation. This timeline is so deeply embedded in cultural consciousness that it's rarely questioned. People plan decades of their lives around this benchmark, dreaming of freedom at 65, only to reach it and feel lost. With routine gone and purpose diluted, many find that retirement is not the paradise they expected, but a slow erosion of relevance and direction. The age limit becomes less about personal fulfillment and more about conformity to a timeline set by industrial-era economics. The Sigma's redefined timeline. The Sigma male sees age-based retirement as just another arbitrary rule designed for the average, not the individual. To him, life is not a race toward leisure, but a journey of meaning and curiosity. He doesn't wait for permission to retire. He questions whether retirement as a concept even fits his life goals. If financial freedom arrives early, he may step away from traditional work in his 40s to chase new passions, launch a creative venture, or travel the world. On the other hand, if his work gives him a sense of purpose, he might continue into his 70s or 80s, not because he has to, but because he wants to. The Sigma's timeline is fluid, governed by inner drive rather than external expectation. He gauges life not by the ticking of a retirement clock, but by how fully he is engaging with his passions, challenges, and sense of contribution. For him, true wealth isn't found in escaping work. It's found in doing work that never feels like a burden. Conclusion: the cost of borrowed beliefs. In a world designed for convenience and conformity, most people live on intellectual autopilot, absorbing beliefs passed down by family, institutions, and culture without ever stopping to interrogate them. These beliefs often go unchallenged not because they're true, but because they provide comfort. They offer a sense of belonging, a shield against uncertainty, an illusion of clarity in a chaotic world. But beneath that comfort lies a hidden cost, one that few recognize until it's too late. The slow erosion of independent thought. When you adopt ideas without questioning them, you give up ownership of your mind. You trade critical thinking for group approval. You mistake borrowed certainty for real understanding. The Sigma male refuses to pay that price blindly. He endures what most people avoid: the discomfort of questioning deeply held assumptions, the isolation that comes with thinking differently, and the intellectual heavy lifting of forming beliefs from scratch. While others chase validation, he chooses truth, even when it's inconvenient or unpopular. His reward is not immediate, but it is profound, a worldview he has personally tested, refined, and proven against experience. It's not inherited, it's earned. And because it is forged through clarity and introspection, it cannot be taken or shaken by trends, peer pressure, or popular opinion. In the end, the real question isn't why Sigma males challenge these 8 common beliefs. It's why so many others don't. Why choose a life governed by secondhand stories and untested truths when you have the power to question, explore, and redefine your own? The choice is yours. Will you continue walking the well-worn path laid out by others, or will you begin to build a path of your own? One belief at a time? Do these ideas resonate with you? If you found yourself nodding along or reflecting deeply on the traits and experiences we explored in this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts. The Sigma male mindset isn't often talked about openly, and your perspective, whether you identify with it personally or have encountered in others, adds valuable depth to the conversation. Drop a comment below and let me know which part hit home the most for you. Have you seen these traits in yourself or someone you know? Your insights help build a community where authenticity and growth are prioritized over popularity and performance. If you're drawn to this kind of introspective, no-nonsense content around Sigma males, psychological strength, emotional intelligence, and high-value living. There's more waiting for you. Explore the other videos on this channel for deeper dives, actionable insights, and raw truths that cut through the noise. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay sharp, stay grounded, and stay unapologetically real. Until next time.